For this week's study, we're going to look at Autumn Leaves, covered by Eva Cassidy, and I'm using the Eric Clapton version of the song. And what's really cool about this song is the chords and how we can join them together. So first of all, your chords are going to sound something like this: B minor, E minor 7. Just going to go through one at a time. The diagrams are on the PDF as well. So if you want to copy the PDF or you don't have it, let me know. G major 7, some nice minor 7 flat 5 chords, F sharp 7, slightly less sort of popular way of doing it, but sounds really cool, and B minor. Then we're going to take a scale, which happens to be the F sharp Phrygian mode. I'll explain later why I picked such seemingly unusual mode. And we're going to join the two together. So what we mean is we're going to take the chord B minor, for example, and use the scale to join it to the E minor 7. Use it to join A7 together. To D major 7. Nice for target notes. It actually works quite nicely how we connect it and then see how everything works. Okay, first of all, just a quick revise over the chords if you're not sure, to make sure you know them. B minor, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. It should sound like this. E minor 7, obviously lots of different ways to play it. I want that one, not that one. I like this one. Just preference, that's all. So you can see we're not A7, we're not going for the traditional sort of jazz voicings for the chords. B major 7, more sort of an open chord, give a bit of a dreamier sort of vibe to it. G major 7. Make sure you know these chords and can play them first before you get too much into the song, so pause the video if you're not sure. F sharp 7, relies on the open E, and back to B minor. Okay, now I want to also quickly go over the scale and then we can actually start the lesson. We're looking at the F sharp Phrygian scale. As I said, it starts at fret number 2, that is F sharp, and you're going to go up the scale something like this. I'm going to call out the fret numbers on each string. Fret 2, 3, 5. Next string, 2, 4, 5. Onto the D string, 2, 4, 5 again. G string, 2, 4, B string, 2, 3, 5, and on the E1 string, 2, 3, 5 again. Also very important, try and make sure you're doing alternate strokes as well the whole way through. And you'll notice my picking hand now is in view, and you can see the alternating down, up as we go through the scale. I'm going to count to 4, and then maybe you want to play through with me just to make sure you've got the scale under control. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pick up speed slowly. Now in theory I should have stopped on F sharp as well, but those two notes that I added on the E1 string are part of the key anyway, so we might as well utilize them. It's more efficient, takes care of more of the notes available to us in that position. Now where we're going with this, I want us to separate first of all for a few seconds your chords and your scale, and then say, hold on a minute, what happens if we bring them together? Because if we think about it, your chords are built from notes used within the scale. So if I'm playing through the scale, I should be able to find the chord. So let's have a look at the B minor chord, for example. Here's B minor, and this note is inside your scale. There she is. The next note, there, part of the B minor, also inside the scale. That note there, also inside it, and eventually when you get down to there, the chord B minor is sitting inside the scale. So maybe one nice way to get going into, or approaching this rather, is to think to yourself, well, okay, if my chords are found inside the scales, then maybe I can use these notes of the scale to actually help me bridge gaps from one chord to another. So instead of doing this, now check this out. I'm just going to do some rhythm now, sort of. Sounds nice. Instead of just playing the chords, how about including the scale as part of the chord structure? So as we said, each chord is found inside it. E minor 7, for example, the second chord. Those two notes there are part of the end part of the scale, for example. The open G is the same as fret 5 of the D string, that is G. So basically every single chord, if I wanted to make a 3-hour video, okay, will find the notes inside the scale somewhere along the line. So we want to join it together. Now, what we're going to do is maybe start something like this. B minor, and then you're into the E minor 7 chord. Let's get a bit more of a face on it over here so we can see head on what we're doing. B minor. So I used this note to stop on because that note was part of my E minor 7. Then for my next phrase, I'm starting at E minor 7 now. I stopped on that C sharp there because that's part of the A7th. Now I didn't have to stop on those notes. I could stop basically on any note and lead into the chord as well. So I can do B minor like this. And over there I went for the note just above the note in the chord that was going to get played. And what I mean by that is, when I went to E minor 7, before I played that note there, I stopped my phrase here because this note is the note just higher than the target note inside the chord. And that's quite cool because it sort of created tension and relieved itself. When I went for the next one, the A7, I stopped on that note because it resolved itself nicely into the A7 here. So we're taking advantage of knowing the scale notes and seeing how we can bore little passages from one chord to another without getting caught up too much on chord notes, target notes, names of the notes. The last thing you want to do when you're improvising is thinking D major 7 has got the notes D, F sharp, A, C sharp. Where is C sharp? There it is. Because by the time you've gone through this whole process of thinking, the song's probably finished. Okay. But what we can do now is you can go from A7 and just go into your chord. Now that was quite a nice one because a little back pedal there actually took you to the G major 7. So these are just little ideas that I want to share with you. The goal or purpose of this video is to be able to first of all play through the chords. So I want you to be able to go through. Play through all the chords, that's the first goal. The second goal was to get you familiar with your scale. And then the third goal was to combine the two together. So you haven't got your chords on one side and the scales on the other. You can go from your chord to the next chord via a scale. You can do little double stops, like that for example, or like that, more simplified. You can do fast phrases. So it's not sort of speed dependent or phrase dependent. I want to encourage creating your own style of playing. So if you are slower and you really enjoy going B minor, one note. That sounded quite cool. And if you like a bit more with some string bends, maybe one or two more notes. Also sounds quite nice, and if you like a lot of notes, that's a bit of a silly overkill, but what, you get the idea that I'm trying to share over here. So I'm not going to teach you set phrases. I want to teach you to experiment and find out phrases you like. So ask yourself, what chord am I on? What chord am I going to? Where are the notes in the scale? Where do the chords fit in the scale? And try and visualize, try and see. There's D major 7. There's my A7 notes. There's my G major 7. There's my C minor 7 flat 5. Get to visualize this, so while you're playing, you know where to find the notes. Very important. So you don't necessarily have to learn all the notes on the guitar, although I would encourage that. So I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm encouraging you to find and recognize the shapes. So if you were to transpose this up a semitone or down a tone or something, then the transposition is easy because you're working with shapes. But that's a study for another day. Okay, let's just do one or two nice little riffs that you can just show you for the fun of it. Personal favorites, for example, little double stop. Now that actually quite nicely. Going to start on the 3rd string. What's the pinky? And I'm going to just bring my picking hand into it as well. Nice little phrase over there, nice easy phrase, you got that? You can use it almost any time. So I'm intentionally repeating it to show that even though it sounds a bit monotonous there, you can actually use one phrase to actually connect any parts of the chords together because they're all in the same key. In other words, all the notes I'm using over here are found in the same key as what the piece is. Now, at the bottom of your page as well, you'll see that it says to you basic triad chords in D major, because the song is in D, even though it's starting on a B minor, which is a relative minor to D major. So it is in the key D major. And the Phrygian over here, the reason why I went through the Phrygian is because the Phrygian is the 3rd mode in the key of, or any major key. So if you're in the key of D major, you'd go D, E, F sharp, Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, and I'm using Phrygian for the 3rd mode, and that's why I use this position. Now I know some of the jazz guys will go, but why don't you learn the major from here? They're not wrong. I just like to use all the notes all the time, all the strings all the time. So I don't like learning, here's my B minor here and here's my B minor there, and then I've got to play a B minor from here. That's very cluttered because I'm not using all the strings all the time. And in essence, if I learn everything from the 6th string, all my scale shapes from the 6th string, if I learn that, I've got a lot less to keep track of, and I've got all the strings available. And that makes a lot more logical sense to have all your options available to you in any key, and you're only working with a lot less shapes. So instead of learning 5 or 6 ways to play D major or B minor, just learn your basic modes in D major, start them all on the same string, and you're home dry. For example, I could have, maybe played it B minor here, and gone to E minor 7 there, and over here now I'll be using, from fret 7, my natural minor scale. I could have done that. And from there to A7, there's an A7, there's my D major 7. So I can decide what position I want to play, and I just did the open position because I enjoy playing it there for the song, not because I think it's better. I just had to start somewhere, and that's where I wanted to start. So, quick revise. You've learned some cool chords. You've learned a mode that maybe you're not familiar with, the Phrygian mode, which is good. And you can see your scale shapes, or your chord shapes rather, inside your scale shape. And you can also see now that you can join them together. And like we said, we could do it in different positions depending where you want to play on the guitar neck. I just chose down here because I had to start somewhere. Okay. If there's any questions on this, please drop me a WhatsApp. I'd be happy to help. Otherwise, have a cool day. Enjoy Autumn Leaves. I will send you the link to Clapton's version as well. Otherwise, have a cool day. Take care. Thank you.